Hi everyone, let's get started with Bitcoin. December the 4th. This is on 1 day scale. What we'll do, we'll look into different scale time frame. And today, this week is simpler, and the previous weeks were tough in a sense. Like for many, you would be thinking what might happen and all, but not tough as in direction. It was pretty clear that what Bitcoin was trying to do. Especially last week, we reviewed at a monthly scale, highlighted key levels, and not just last week, but we had 3 4 calls in last 2 3 weeks, more than so. Some calls were during the week and all, and key levels were highlighted. So I hope those were helpful for your risk management. I'll again highlight key levels and few things because sometimes some traders require real action. Some trader would do without real action. When I say real action means some trader might think, okay, he's saying, but it hasn't happened. So when it happens, then they think, oh yeah. So nevertheless, if I'll highlight a few things again. So now it has to be, now it is more serious, right? Very simple. Earlier it was more like indication, because it didn't happen. Now it happened. Now it is more important for everyone, right? So as I mentioned, we'll try to be on the side of the trend, and that's how. It's not about making money. It's also about protecting capital sometime. And I laid out 4 different strategies on the in the charts channel. If you refer day before yesterday, 4 points, you can refer those 4 points. Very simple thing, that reshuffling part, right, where you go from very fast moving coin to slower moving coin. So if you take an example of Bitcoin, right now, let's say it's down by 11%. If you look at Ethereum, it's down by around 6%. So what you note here compared to some other which are like down by 20% or 25%, or maybe basically around 20%. So what it helps, that strategy is, how it helps is, it slows down the drop. It minimize the impact, comparatively speaking. So that's one strategy. Another strategy is you reduce your position, right? Another strategy is you hedge by taking some short position. And fourth strategy, which is extreme strategy, and it wasn't bad strategy at all, which is going for 1x short, not to have any long, just 1x short. But same strategy as long, where you may start with small and as if supports are resistance. And I explained through explained by flipping the chart, which I'll also show it again, that how simple it is. When you invert the scale, each support you can consider as resistance, and this Bitcoin resistance to be used for your alts, because when the Bitcoin stops, alts stop in current scenario. Not always. There are some cases. There are some phases of uh, there are some phases where this kind of a tight coupling happens. So current phase, Bitcoin and alts would go together. So in that case, either you trade 1x with Bitcoin, which is more recommended, or you go for alts. Usually alts are the same strategy. When you go with 1x alts, it's a little riskier comparatively because it's a faster moving coin. So if you may go with Bitcoin in that case. because it's slower. And but if you're going, the 1x is important. Leverage is toxic. 1x is fine, because I don't think shorting is bad. Shorting is trading. Only thing is, it's in the direction, and those who have access should do, because if the market offers you opportunity, the opportunity is not necessarily about going up. If it is going down, that's also opportunity, right? See, in some cases, if you don't have shorting option, then I can understand. But if you are shorting option, then 1x is no different than 1x long, except you have to pay a little funding fee. As far as liquidation is concerned, there's nothing to worry with the good coins, because liquidation would be very, very low. Like if you take Ethereum for example, liquidation would be extremely, like it has to go really high for you to get liquidated. I don't know a number, but it has to be like, maybe the pump has to be like over 50% or 100%, that kind of a thing. Yeah, over 50%, like more than that maybe. So anyway, so that kind of pump, and anyway you would have stop loss. So it's same thing. So shorting would also have stop loss. That's liquidation is not a concern. But yeah, those who leverage, it's a big concern. And anyway, so the point is, when I invert the chart like this, it's so clear. Now you see this S5 support, it got rejected. So it is here. It's still in invert chart. Invert chart looks bullish to me. If this is green candle, if this is any other coin, then this is bullish to me, right? So if this is bullish, so this is very important. I do this. Sometime you have to flush your mind and do invert chart, right? Very simple in trading view, as I did here. You click on this, click on invert chart, and see invert chart flushes your the image that you would have for any coin. When you look at invert chart, it brings balance, and then you will be able to see what is really happening, right? But right now, and the same, this supports, as I said, are nothing but resistance in the invert chart. So when you short, then you can look for S6, then you look for S7, and then look for S8, and so on. And similarly, when if it invert chart goes down, that means you have to exit from S4 or this levels that I give. So it's the same thing. And when you do 1x, it's pretty safer. And then you ramp up. Approach A, start very small. Then you add when goes here, right? It breaks S5. Add more short when it breaks S6. Keep on adding little bit. And then the way you enjoy the bull trend, you will enjoy the bear trend. There is absolutely no difference between bull and bear. Bear also lasts for 1 year or something. Uh, Bull usually lasts longer, bear usually lasts shorter, but historically speaking, multiple months. So even a bear trend lasts longer. So you enjoy bear trend. It doesn't matter. So in trading, if the aim is making money, it doesn't matter whether it's a bull or bear. The what matters is what is important here is you be with the trend, and you identify the trend early enough, and slowly migrate. Nothing, not no aggression here. Nobody. Let me change it back to the regular. So it's not that trend is broken, uptrend is broken. It's not, but it can be a beginning. So if it is a beginning, it can be a start for a short, and it can be a reduction for long. So you don't know yet. Nobody knows that. But as long as these levels are broken, because as I said, these levels are not going to get broken overnight. It took many days for it to come from here to here, right? And it's not about hope either. I have mentioned the levels. So I'm not bear, as I said, neither like a bear nor bull. It's not about, it's about, you should never tag yourself, because the moment you tag, you cannot be open enough. You are going to be biased. Like when you watch a game, there is going to be your favorite player, there is going to be a favorite team. Whatever game you're watching, sports game I'm talking about, you're going to take side. The moment you take side, your emotions are going to attach, because if that player or team is not going to do well, you're going to get upset. So the if, but if let's say from the opposite, you are watching a tennis, for example, and you're favoring person A, but let's say person B does something good, really good from tennis point of view, not in tennis, like from a game point of view. If you are focusing on game of tennis in this example, you will appreciate player B as well. And if player B consistently does well, then you will appreciate player B even more, without being biased, because your focus is not player, the focus is game. So if you're a true game lover, you will never focus on a player or a group or team. You will always focus on, you know, on the game. So if some in the game of soccer or football, if there is a nice goal, you'll appreciate that person. Oh wow, what a goal, you know. So that kind of a thing. So in a game of trading, I believe, never tag yourself being a bull or bear. Appreciate the game, means appreciate the trend. If the trend says that I want to go down, and if there is a downside move has a higher probability, be with that, nothing wrong. So it's like being, so appreciate that. And when I say appreciate, means take advantage of it, right? What is, so what happens is, it's not about loyalty. Okay, it's not about loyalty. It's not like being a citizen and you cannot clap for other country. When you're a citizen, it makes sense that you're cheering for your country. But if you can still clap for some other country doing well, right? Because that country did well in the game. So but that's a different thing, because then it's more about loyalty and all. So you have to stick, and at least you have to show, even inside, you really appreciate the other country. You cannot show, because then people will say, oh, you are not loyal to your country. But in the game of trading, it's not like that. You don't need to be loyal, because there is no one to judge you, because here the goal is to make money. You can simply change the side without showing a loyalty to anyone, right? So that has been my message. And the biggest advantage is, when you are not trying to be loyal or favorite to something or married to something, you are always be at a winning side when the analysis is correct, of course. When analysis is correct, right? But then you have that advantage, that if the bulls are winning, you become bull. If the bears are winning, you become bear. Ultimately you win. That matters whether bull wins or bear wins, who cares? Ultimately you should win. So that has been my mantra, and that has been my message. Ultimately your balance should go up, right? Who cares if the bear is winning or bull is winning? So that's my message. I just reinforce that message, because it's this is not commonly said. And when something is not commonly said, it's not, it's difficult to change either. um, but if someone can change it, then and sometimes it's about experience. You change and see the difference. If you see the difference, then you will like it, right? Yeah, some, you don't have to trust my words, you have to experience it. So because once you start making money on both the sides, you will understand what I'm saying. As I said, sometimes people understand because it makes sense, and sometimes people understand only with the experience. So whatever is the reason, it depends how early you try out, right? So my message is, right now, who is winning? The bears are winning. in simple words. Does it mean that the Bears, this is a bad trend? No. But however, I can say that the Bears have the upper edge. They have an upper edge at this moment. Now, these are the levels, and game changes. Right? One team is winning, another team could also win, because if they do well, right? So always remember there are two teams, Barons, Bull, right? Let's say, and you are not taking side. But the moment you see the balance is shifting from one team to another, you start changing your side gradually. It's not that, as I said, don't go from black to white and white to black. There are shades. Just slowly move towards the winning side, and that's not being disloyal. I mean, that's okay. It's because you, you want to make money. That's the real goal. So be um, be on the winning side, in short, right? So that, and in fact, the moment you are not bear or bull, the moment, forget about choosing side. Even if you decide I don't want to be bear or bull, that commitment itself will make a huge difference, because it will, the objectivity will come automatically. You will be neutral, and then you will see which side is weighing more very clearly. The prejudiced mind will also a big obstruction, because it takes time. If your hand is very cold, let me explain very differently. Let's say if your hand is very cold and you're near the fire, it takes time for your hand to get warm, or even come to the normal temperature. Why? Because it was very cold. That transition time is a loss of time. But if your hand is kind of normal, neither freezing cold nor extremely hot, then you can swing on either side very quickly. So I'm trying to explain through different examples. So when you are at very extreme side, whether extremely hot or extremely cold, and if you have to change side, the transition takes time, right? But that's what you do, right? When you have a car with an option, you would start the car in the winter before you start driving, because you will warm up the car. That means when you start your driving, your car is already warmed up. That's what you do when you have an option. When you don't have option, there's no choice. You get into the car, and then you start your heater, and it takes time for a car to get heated, right? But if you had an option, you will start your car a little earlier, so as soon as you start driving, you're right, you're comfortable, so you bring the temperature at the comfortable level. We do that, so why can't we do that in our trading? I can give you a number of examples. All these examples I'm thinking right now spontaneously. um this particular example, a couple of examples. See, what my point is, we do so many things like this in our real life, but we don't do this in trading. And I would like everyone, at least on Opportunity Family, to do this, right? Because then you will maximize your chance. It's about maximizing. Okay, these things are so super important. As I always say, see, analysis and all levels are all important, but developing the mindset, first of all, traders should be ready with the mindset, then the levels come. If the temperament and the trading mind trader's mindset has to be developed first, then you use the data wisely, and then make money. The data itself are not good enough if the mind is not ready. Okay, so that is enough. I'm sure this will help, and I'm trying my best to convey by different mean. Let's continue with the price analysis. Okay. Right. So look at the so orange level is usual bounce level, means whenever there is a big drop like this, it always reacts, and this reaction reaches up to orange level. So if it reaches up to orange level, it's good, but nothing to be excited about. And even if it reaches to 49800, which is also a resistance, that's also good, but not enough. So in short, whatever bounce you saw, actually that is not enough. um, if it breaks above 49800 and move on the upside, especially if it breaks S3, then we can say, wow, this now it wants to go up. And technically speaking, 58,000 is must to have. Now this is 58,000 is must to have. This maybe I can lower this, but I would like to keep this for now. But I would say, even if it breaks above S3 and could stay above S3, then also we can say that's okay. It will be able to go for the new all-time high. But this is a technical level, so I must stick to my technical levels. Otherwise, experience point of view, I would say S3 probably is good enough, which is 52,600 is good enough for it to go for higher level. In other words, no bounce up to S3 is good enough, and especially 49,800, it's all again usual, um, little, I mean better, but these two ranges, I could have put a box actually here covering both this range, I mean both these levels, mm, which actually I should do with the orange box as usual, indicating that price up to this level is not a big deal. Okay, anyway, I'll keep the label, but this box, so anything, so if it starts going up, then it's positive. Okay, so I'm trying to make the trading very simple. If you just have to believe in these levels, if you believe in these levels, you don't have to follow unless you believe it. But if you believe it, then trading is simple, very simple, because it's like very if and else kind of. If you're a programmer, it's like if this do that, else do that. Very simple. So if it, for example, if you're shorting, right, if it breaks above this support level, support zone, you exit. Right? If you are long, right, you may start small, but then if it starts dropping S5, so this, somebody says, oh, can I bottom fish? Of course you can do it, but then you have to get out. But the problem with the bottom fish over here is, of course you can do bottom fish, of course you can start small, but you have to remember that the the range is pretty wide at this, from Bitcoin 11% to 12%. So the Bitcoin could retest, so Bitcoin could go sideways, right, like this. And in fact, yeah, then it can come down to this level. It can be any level between this 11% range, because this is the low. And not only that, if you look at 29K, this, so this was the low, and assume that this particular candle is equivalent to this candle. You saw it penetrated, it closed above, and this was also penetration for this level, and it actually closed below, slightly below. But exact dollar point of view, it was broken for the from this point of view. But as far as range is concerned, the range was maintained. Like this is the low, and this is another low. So if you draw a box, you can say this was, it maintained. But here definitely it was intraday penetration. So if you compare that with the current situation, after a day or two, it could come down to this level, or maybe after a week, it could again come down to this level and retest it. Who knows? It could go a little higher and come down all the way to, all these are possible scenarios. So point is, if um, if you're long, then you have to be mentally prepared that it is unlikely to go up without retesting. The retesting is very common. You would see many places. The retesting may not necessarily be, all the way down. Sometimes it depends on the strength. If the strength, it has enough strength, maybe the retesting might happen like after a few days, touching S5, right? Right now it's in a healing process. It's trying to heal itself. So as part of the healing process, now it's consolidating. So one thing is it has gone down significantly. So the another candle of this size is very, very unlikely probability wise. It has to consolidate, whether at this level or little higher, but in this range. It's likely it's consolidate, and that consolidation um, would involve one more dip, and that dip could go all the way down up to this level or somewhere higher, could be up to S5, right? And then goes up. That's the typical behavior. This is how the bottom is formed. So this is a potential bottom, but this is not ultimate bottom. There's likely to be a retest after this one. And the retest, the term retest is used because retest is not that it's a confirmation of bottom. It's a retest of the bottom, means there is a, it's again a test. Retest is also is a test. So when it comes down, you have to again see that it doesn't breach the level. And if this level is broken, then it will look for lower level. Then the retest is failed, because the retest is testing the low. So the retesting could fail in that case, and then it would continue. Correct. For an example, it's you don't have to go so far. Let's take an example of this first drop. It went up. It went up. It spent a day. Second day comes. It came down. This is retest. It went up. So you see what happened, that this particular low, November 12th, it broke below November 10th low, but just for moments, maybe for minutes or hours, but intraday, right? This the candle closed above the low. So technically speaking, the low was not broken. It was an intraday penetration, because they has to close below, then you can say it's broken. Many people don't understand or misunderstand that. They think this support is broken. This is not how you interpret. Okay, the day has to close below this low, then you can say the low is broken. That's the technical definition. Okay, when you're tracking at one day, then the day must close below this level, then you can say the close. So price spikes, this kind of whipsaw kind of effect is observed, but this is not this is not breaking below the level. Okay, so this is to be understood. It's and usually people keep the stop loss here and they're stopped out and then they trick. So this is very common behavior. As I said here also, many people would have put a stop here, right? Let's say put a stop here, somewhere here, and this would have taken so many stops and went up. So that it does, market does sometimes. So that's why it's tricky. And then you will remember my strategy: one stop loss, no, 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 big no. You have to have multiple stop losses, right? You know this guideline. So if you, I would say still you refer my guidelines. I'm not saying you must follow, but literally I'm telling you those are my own experience, and it will make a huge difference in your trading, right? So I'm not trying to sell my guidelines. They are offered, but adults, childs, somebody is very new is easy to adopt, or but somebody who has been trading is very difficult, because the brain is wired that way. Rewiring brain is one of the most challenging things. It's very difficult. I'm into classical music, so there was one, right now present day, one of the maestros in India, a flautist. So he very famous. flute player, and he learned somewhere, but he wanted to learn from one master. But the master is not ready to teach if you learn, because you have to learn from scratch, because then the master would mold disciple in a specific way, right? So he already learned flute and decent, playing decent. Then master said, okay, he was very like desperate to learn from that master. Master said, no, it's my principle, you have to learn from scratch, then only I will teach. Now that the disciple was very adamant that he wanted to learn from that master no matter what. So what is the solution? You can't how you learn, so how can you just forget? But yeah, there is workaround. So master said, okay, let's do one thing. You are right hand player, means you hold your flute in a right hand side, on a right hand side. Now you become lefty, so you hold your flute on the left side. Imagine if you are a player, think about game and baseball player, and you're pitching through from your, if you're righty and become ambidextrous is different thing, but in musical instrument, if you're righty and or whatever, and if you have to be lefty, it's as good as starting from scratch. So you cannot unlearn what you learn, but this kind of workaround. So that's the thing. Once your habits are at subconscious level, they are difficult because those are hardwired. So that was the solution. He became lefty, so he had to do everything from scratch, and he is a living legend at this moment. So that's a short story. I'm not trying to say that my guidelines will make you legend and all. I didn't mean that. The focus is not that. Focus is that when you already doing something, it's very hard to uh, follow someone else's guideline. But I would say try. It will make a difference. Anyway, that's why I brought up that example. Right, so let's come back. So you see what happens is the single stop loss will be stopped here, and that's what happens. So anyway, so this is retest. That's the subject of and then retest was successful. It went up, but not high enough. It came down again, and here the another retest, and it failed. Right, so this S1 is taken. You're gone. So if you have stopped here somewhere, you're taken, right? Because this is pretty deep. Comes here. This is low. Goes up. Usual behavior. It always goes up. Comes down. Retest. Successful. Goes up. Retest. Intraday low. You see? Lower than this. Lower than this. Successful. Goes up. Comes down. Retest. Intraday. Successful. 3 retests. There is no limit that people think that one touch is two touches. No, it's no one touch, two touch. There's no limit. It can be n number of touches. Okay, there's no limit. So number of touches are not important, but yeah, if it doesn't go high enough and keep touching, then the pressure builds. So this is the case where the height, it didn't make new high. If without making new high, if it returns back, then that's a bad sign. Okay, that's very common. So you can note that point. Anyway, so you see that 3 attempts here on daily and then went up, but not high enough. You see, it couldn't break above and it returns back. Now this time it couldn't hold. It broke S2 and so. And then near S3 it got support. Again it came down for retest, went up. Now it again, after few days, it returned back. You see what happened. The height was not enough, not even able to break above this one, and so on. So it came down here. I hope this is helping you, because this is important. I'm trying to explain how coin behaves, because if you understand its behavior, you will have better understanding. You're learning TA, by the way. I'm not saying you're learning, I'm teaching TA, but indirectly you are learning TA. This is TA stuff. This is not trading, but indirectly you're learning TA. Now, I mean, when I say indirectly means I'm not explicitly saying I'm teaching you TA. So you see what happened here. So this is also intraday. So this is also retest of S3, but intraday it survived, but not high enough. It comes next day, today, right? And broke not just S3 but S4. Actually, when it was dropping, we were on call, and we saw how it paused as S4. It also paused as S5 a little while and then broke. There was no time for me to calculate. I was talking, but then it went up and so on. So now you understood how it touches the support, goes up, it comes back, and so on. So now it touched this level. So right now I would mark this level low. I should mark that because this is the actual support, right? 42. I should have. So this is actual support. Today's, I'll put in today's date later, right? And now, so this is going to consolidate here, right? It going, so this is the first bounce or first reaction. It's going to consolidate whether at this level or this level, or it could come down this level. If it comes down today or next day, then it's a sign of weakness. If it goes up and try to consolidate and then comes down but not all the way, that's a sign of strength. So you get that early indication whether it has it what it wants to do. See, nobody knows the future, but the I mentioned in recently there was a question um, about whether it will make a new all-time high. That was a question. So it's not possible to tell, but whether it looks good or not, whether there is risk or not, what level is required for a new all-time high, what level, if it is broken, it will go for low. These kind of questions can be answered, but you cannot say, oh, will it touch 30K, will it touch 20K, will it touch 100K? If somebody is answering, they're guessing. Let me tell you, if you trust me, if somebody is answering those questions honestly, they are guessing. That's not TA cannot tell. TA can say, these are resistance. If this resistance is broken, it will look for next one. If that is broken, then it will look for next one. Similarly, if this support is broken, it will look for the next one, and so on. There is a ladder, there are steps. If one is achieved, that's why you have seen me when I give a resistance, I say, if this resistance is broken, if R8 is broken, then R9 is valid. So when I give R9, calculating R9 is possible. I can calculate R10, R11, R12, but the point is I can calculate, but you have to always assume that unless R8 is not broken, R9 is not possible, and so on, right? And when the trend is good, you can always give multiple targets, but the underlying understanding is the immediate one has to be broken, and so on. So the TA is not about telling the future. TA is all about telling the present. People are not interested in present. They think that they know the present. They're wrong. What they know is the past. They know that it dumped, but what they don't know, the knowing the price level is not knowing the present. When I say knowing the present means how the future will born out of present is depends on how you assess the present in terms of risk. What level the present, what price level, what is this pattern, what is the structure, and so on in the present time, and how it is progressing or progressed in last few hours or days, depends on what scale. So combining with the past and the present, you try to say what might happen next. But as I said, not like predicting, like not like astrologers. Oh, it will hit this, it will hit that. No. When you hear will, it will do the WILL. If you, the moment you hear this term from anyone, that means he's bluffing actually. I can say that it's guessing. It's a guesswork. He is selling something. Be careful when somebody says, because this is a game of probability. TA don't do not know future, right? So this is a game of probability. You can say this is likely to happen. This might happen. But the moment someone says this will happen, that person has some agenda. So be careful with those people. Those who are those who those who pretend as if they know the future. Those are dangerous people. Right. So TA do not know the future. Not at all. Otherwise, if I know the future, why are we doing business and do hard work? You know, if I know the future, simple. Why people are tweeting? People who have 500,000 followers. Why they are putting so much effort if they know the future? Are they doing charity? Of course not. So um, anyone who is so much definitive in their statement, those are dangerous people. It's not about confidence. Anyways, so um, in my way of an style, the levels matter. So as if it starts breaking above levels on the upside, that means more investment can be made. That means there's more opportunity on the upside, right? And if it goes down, that means the risk has to be managed and so on. Very simple. If starting from S1, you have to start managing the risk, as I've been saying. S2 broken, do something. S3 broken, do something. S4 broken, do something. S5 broken, do something. Tomorrow it might break. S6, do something, and so on. Similarly, if S4 is broken on the upside, do something. S3 broken, do something. Means adds, right? If you're long, if S2 broken, add little more, little. But keeping the level in mind, that what is the required level. That means you might be adding, but without forgetting that what is must to have, must to achieve level. Until that level is achieved, it could go up, but think that as it could also go down anytime if that level is not achieved. With that consciousness, with that awareness, if you trade, then you are never be in shock, that's for sure. And this incremental approach will be a life changer for you. So whether you want to be short or long, it's very simple. Do everything in chunk increments. If you're shorting, you have to understand that if it breaks above 449,800, then it's not good for short, right? Similarly, if you're long and it starts breaking S5, then it's potentially not good, right? And so on. So whatever side you want to take, you may take, but point is, never try to be aggressive at this moment, because again, see, when this was very easy because the likelihood of breakdown was very much. However, this is where it is consolidating. It will reveal, and I will come to know. But at this moment, I would say, okay, let's see where it wants to lean, right? And then based on its behavior, will will increase the probability whether it's leaning more on the downside or leaning more on the upside. So right now, at this stage, we can say it's trying to get the balance. It's trying to heal itself, and we have to give some time to see what it wants to do. But we'll come to know, right? But I think you at least know that, at least know these levels are known. And imagine a pendulum, as I always say, that depends on the price where it is leaning. I mean heading. You would know that which side is winning, and so on. Okay, this is one day. Now I'll zoom out. I'll hide all the drawings and go for weekly, because all these levels and all are good at a 1 day scale. But when you look at weekly, it's about structure. It's not about price. So yesterday, I think Jamie was saying, we how so his question was interesting. He said, how do you track weekly, because it doesn't seem to be changing? And actually he answered his question. So my answer was, if you see this chart and if you don't see any change, that means nothing is changed. Literally, you answered the question actually. And that is so important. That's why a weekly chart has to be tracked. Because if there is no change that you could see on weekly, that means there is no change, significant change. You see my point? So, in other words, if Bitcoin is near 43K and now Bitcoin is at 47K, in a weekly chart is saying there's not much difference. Exactly, that's the answer. That means there is the 47K is not enough. That's the answer. The moment, so, but if Bitcoin breaks above 54, then weekly would look little different, isn't it? So, and if Bitcoin breaks above 57K, it is going to look differently, isn't it? So if it does, then the weekly will change. So that's the beauty of weekly, that when it shows the change, it tells you that the trend is reversing. So which is good, that weekly is not telling you that it's changing at this moment. That means there is no fundamental change. So I think Jamie was the person. So Jamie asked this, and actually it was a good question, because then I could answer, and now I could tell all of you that something like this so is so important. Why weekly is important? Because it filters the noise. Little bit of bounce will not make the difference in the weekly chart. That means that bounce is not good enough. That's why, if you want to understand a big picture, you must start with weekly and go for monthly later. So if the weekly hasn't changed the landscape or structure, that means that's not good enough, right? So for an example, if you go back in past 3 weeks ago, and when you are here, and you can say, okay, now this candle is red, fine, but it doesn't change much, because okay, I mean, I see that it's very strange that got a big one on top of it, so it's of course not desirable, but it won't change the big picture. But when you see next week like this, that's something. This is a change in landscape, and especially this candle is a total change in landscape. Now if you say this is nothing, then I think I have no answer. If somebody says that this three candles hasn't changed the weekly, then I have no way to explain. This has changed the landscape, in my opinion, right? However, we can say that this weekly hasn't broken this level, September low, right? Now, because we are now tracking on a weekly level. You saw we tracked more at this wave level, right? We were looking at this wave on a 1 day. Now when you are weekly, you are looking, you zoomed out, so you're seeing, okay, this September low is not taken or not broken, so we are fine. However, this is an alert, a big alert, right? Because it was it made new all-time high, and it has touched this one. What it means, this must be preserved, this must be maintained. If this is taken, then it goes to this one, and if it goes to this one, you have seen with this candle what this candle has done to alts. You have seen some coins drop by 40% and so on, right? 20% to 40% range. If this candle could do this, if it goes down to this, what will happen to the alts? You just imagine. And that's why in my previous video I said that even this level will not break any trend. Even this level is still a borderline case, but who cares? Are you really willing to wait and see this level? Who cares if it is trend is not broken or not? Because of course, I mean, if you have that tolerance, I cannot force you guys. But point is, what if this level is also broken and goes for a downside? Then what would you do? You cannot sell, right? Then you hold it and you end up with huge loss. So uh, that has been my point from the beginning, from S1, that do something. When I said do something, means manage your risk in some degree. Do nothing is not an option unless you know the consequences, right? So on a weekly scale, this is a big red flag if this is taken, whatever is the level, 39k roughly speaking, right? 38, 39k. If 39k range is taken, then it's in a big trouble. And let me tell you, it is possible right now. This level is could threaten this level because this is not high enough as if now. If it reaches to this 55k, 54k, I won't talk about it. But I have all right to tell you that this level could actually could break this level. So if not now, if not tomorrow, but if this doesn't bounce and comes down to this level, it could easily break this level. And another uh, my take is this kind of a behavior from new all-time high hasn't happened. You can look back in past. So there's funny thing, I replied to couple of accounts. They compared with um, they compared with 2007 to 17 bull run, like this run, right? And the tweeter says this kind of correction happened in past, like drop by 40%, 50%. I know that, you know that, you see. But they are so illiterate that they have no clue what they're talking about as far as charting is concerned, that these are not double tops. These are new level drop, new level drop, new level drop, new level and drop, and so on. These are not double tops. This is double top, and this is deep. We already had 55% correction already here. Why in the world it will come down to this level again? I can understand this, but why this? This is a matter of concern, not a panic, of course. But how can you forget that this is something unusual? And how can you compare this with this kind of a dip, which is uptrend, and there is no double top here? So that's total nonsense. If this wave would have gone up to 100k, let's say, and drop a little, or maybe 20%, 30%, then you can compare with those kind of drop. We already had 55% correction, and it barely made new all-time high, and it dropped like this. Are you kidding? Is it same as 2017? These are, I don't know what to say. I mean, I usually don't lose my temper, but these people are misguiding. I feel so sorry. I tweeted. I don't follow them, but I tweeted, so at least somebody will read. Those are, seriously, I mean, they are misguiding. What to say? Anyway, so there are always people with agenda. My point is, this must go above higher, otherwise this is end of bull run. I'm telling you very in a clear, very simple words. If it doesn't achieve the required level, this is end of the bull run. That's my official statement here. Whatever you want to call. Okay, I'm not tagging myself, but this is purely based on TA. Nothing, um, nothing that I have in mind in terms of bias. This is purely because it simply doesn't make sense to retest this level after this one. So this is to be taken seriously. But as I said, We are not locking ourselves with any bias. If it breaks above our required level, we will happily enjoy 100k, 200k, 300k, right? We have no problem at all. But this platform, this family, we all must understand that what is really happening at this moment and the key level. Then it's up to individual whether they agree or not. Right? I cannot talk about or comment about it, but I would say I have done my job. And as far as direction is concerned, I was right. I can say that. And since I started channel, as far as my manual TA is concerned, no, there was no major, there was no, in fact, not major, minor. We are always right in terms of direction. Whether this is a March 2020 fall or any key levels like this one, people were super bearish here, 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 and over here, right? And even here. And we were saying, no, it'll go up, no, it'll go up. You look at the record, you search up. We always said, no, it'll go up. My Twitter, wherever you say. Now I'm saying differently. It's not that I like it. I'm saying differently because situation demands me to say differently. So, anyways, um, so the weekly, this is a very critical moment, and I've been saying that this week is super critical, and it does. It has proven to be critical, right? So now, this today is Saturday. Tomorrow we'll see how it goes, right? We have to observe the bounds. We know the levels. It's posted. You track those levels and decide. We're going to go through all the coins for sure, and on this call you'll come to know the strength and the weakness of different coins, right? So if you want to reshuffle, you can reshuffle. If you want to take different sides, you can do it. Whatever you want, ask me questions, right? So weekly is this. Let's have a quick look at monthly as well. Look at the monthly. This is the second month, right? Right now it's red. Dip. If it bounces, then it could improve. It all depends on the level it reaches. Otherwise, this is a double top, okay? And if this continue, if it takes this down, then taking down this will not be difficult. Taking down this is difficult, but if this is taken down 39k 38k region, if this is taken down, then of course technically I cannot say it can still, so it can still bounce from this one. So I wouldn't conclude anything, but as I said, there will be a major damage by that time. And if this level is taken down, then it's done. Then we'll have to look for new level. Then it's end of bull run for sure. But even if it, to me, if 39 is taken down, then I would say okay. In fact, now only I'm kind of giving hint that it's done, but I cannot conclude because then it would be wrong. It would be against my TA principle that I'm concluding without evidence. So it would be wrong being a TA. But you're human, so you get that instinct that okay, so this is tricky. So this is leaning more. So the bears, if I want to use that. So right now the downside pressure is higher, right? Unless it changes. So that's what serious matter. And briefly, just for record, I want to also show that, but I'll spend only 30 seconds just for record. And that is not probable, but that's possible. And I have a concern, bigger concern, which you might laugh, and that's all right. I don't mind. I have a concern. So I take this is monthly. And as I said, there's no probability and evidence I have to call out later, but I'm just giving you possibility one. I have a great concern that the whole entire 11th year of wave is at risk. Whole entire, so these are phases 1, 2, 3, and 4. The high, 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 high. If you look at this, if it's a rounding pattern, so if it fails to break about this and continue going down and down, then probably the whole entire wave of last 11 years is under correction. So whatever we talked, we always talk about bear trend with respect to bull. For example, this bear trend is with respect to this uptrend. Let me bring in the pattern in drawings. This is the first run, then a correction, second run correction, third run correction, fourth run, and then under correction, and so on, right? Now, if you put everything in one single wave, consider this is single wave, and then correction happens to that wave, what happens? That's the point I'm talking about. But as I said, this is a possibility, but I want to record this. Today is December 4th, and I want to record that. I'm tracking, I'm not saying it's probable, but I'm very much, I'm keeping an eye at this monthly. What if this is end of this 11 years of which I'll call out. One day I'll call out, but not today, of course, not today. It's near all-time high, so I have no right to say that. But I can share with our group that this is what I'm thinking at this moment and researching. At least I can say that, and that's a big concern. So that's why I won't spend much time. That's it. But quick comment on that for record. Okay, so I'll end this session. I'll open question answer. Then I'll re-record the alts. We'll go through all the alts, and what I'll do is I'll end this recording and open for your question.